Doctors stunned as woman delivers a baby with angelic wings. How is this even possible? To find out, watch the video to the end. But first, please subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications to get more stories like this. It was a typical evening at St. Gabriel's Hospital, a bustling medical center located in the heart of a lively urban neighborhood. The fluorescent lights in the maternity ward gleamed brightly, reflecting off the pristine white walls and polished floors. Nurses rushed about, wheeling patients into delivery rooms while doctors huddled in small groups, discussing complicated cases. The faint sounds of newborn cries echoed down the corridors, a reassuring reminder of life beginning anew. Dr. Adrian Cross, the hospital's leading obstetrician, stood at the nurses' station, flipping through patient charts. Known for his calm demeanor and unmatched expertise, Dr. Cross had seen just about everything in his 20 years of practice. Or so he thought. As he scanned through his list of patients for the night, one name caught his attention: Emily Rivera. She was a healthy, 28-year-old woman, due to deliver her first child. What set her apart, however, was the unusual note in her medical history, a series of vivid dreams she had reported during her pregnancy. Emily claimed she had dreamt of angels visiting her, whispering about a special child she was carrying. Her OB/GYN had dismissed these accounts as mere hormonal changes affecting her sleep. But something about the note stirred a faint curiosity in Dr. Cross. Emily was in room 302, accompanied by her husband, Miguel Rivera. The couple had been married for 5 years and had long awaited the arrival of their firstborn. Miguel paced nervously around the room, his hands clasped tightly as if in silent prayer. Emily lay on the hospital bed, her face glowing with a mix of anticipation and exhaustion. She had been in labor for over 8 hours, and the contractions were intensifying. Dr. Cross entered the room with a warm smile. "Good evening, Emily and Miguel. How are we holding up?" Emily managed a weak laugh. "I'd be better if this little one decided to make an appearance already." Miguel chuckled nervously. "Doctor, is it normal for the labor to take this long?" Dr. Cross nodded reassuringly. "Every pregnancy is unique. But let's check how things are progressing." After a quick examination, Dr. Cross noted that Emily was nearing full dilation. "It won't be long now," he announced. "You're doing great, Emily." Emily gripped Miguel's hand tightly, her breathing ragged but determined. "Thank you, doctor." As Dr. Cross stepped out to brief the nursing team, he couldn't shake off an odd sensation, as if something extraordinary was about to happen. He dismissed it as fatigue. It had been a long shift after all. Back in room 302, the atmosphere shifted. The lights seemed to flicker for a moment, and an eerie calm settled over the room. Emily's contractions came faster, and Miguel, despite his nervousness, remained steadfast by her side, whispering words of encouragement. Soon, the room filled with medical staff as Emily was prepped for delivery. Nurses moved efficiently, handing instruments to Dr. Cross, who positioned himself at the foot of the bed. "All right, Emily," he said, his voice steady. "It's time. On the next contraction, I need you to push with all your strength." Emily nodded, sweat beading on her forehead. She took a deep breath, and with the next contraction, she pushed with every ounce of energy she had. The room grew tense as everyone focused on the task at hand. After a few intense moments, the baby began to crown. "You're doing amazing, Emily," Dr. Cross encouraged. "Just one more big push." Emily let out a guttural cry as she gave one final push, and suddenly, the room was filled with the unmistakable wail of a newborn. But as Dr. Cross lifted the baby into his hands, his breath caught in his throat. The baby was perfect, with 10 tiny fingers and toes, but it was what adorned the infant's back that left everyone speechless. Small, delicate wings, covered in soft, downy feathers, extended from the baby's shoulders. The feathers shimmered faintly, as if kissed by a divine light. For a moment, the room fell silent, the only sound being the baby's cries. Dr. Cross stared in disbelief, his mind racing to comprehend what he was seeing. The nurses exchanged stunned glances, unsure of how to react. Miguel was the first to break the silence. "What's wrong?" he asked, his voice filled with concern. "Is the baby okay?" Dr. Cross quickly composed himself. "The baby is healthy," he assured them, carefully wrapping the infant in a soft blanket. He hesitated for a moment before continuing. "But there's something unique about your child." He turned the baby around to reveal the wings, and Miguel gasped audibly. Emily, despite her exhaustion, craned her neck to see. Her eyes widened in astonishment, and tears streamed down her face. "Oh my God," she whispered, her voice trembling. "It's true. The angels, they told me." Miguel fell to his knees beside the bed, overwhelmed with emotion. "What does this mean, doctor?" he asked, looking up at Dr. Cross with pleading eyes. Dr. Cross shook his head, his professional composure struggling to mask his own amazement. "I don't have an explanation," he admitted. This is beyond anything I've ever encountered." As the baby's cries softened, the room seemed to fill with an inexplicable warmth. The wings, though small, moved slightly, as if responding to the gentle air currents in the room. It was as if the child carried an aura of peace that enveloped everyone present. The news spread through the hospital like wildfire. Staff members from other departments gathered outside room 302, whispering about the miraculous birth. Dr. Cross knew he had to act quickly to maintain order and protect the privacy of the family. He turned to Miguel and Emily. "I'll make arrangements to ensure your privacy," he said firmly. "This is your moment, and I'll do everything I can to keep it sacred." Emily nodded, clutching the baby close to her chest. "Thank you, doctor. This child, he's a gift. I can feel it." Dr. Cross couldn't argue with that. As he stepped out to address the curious crowd, he couldn't help but glance back at the family. Emily cradled the baby with a look of pure love, while Miguel sat beside her, his hand resting gently on her shoulder. Whatever the reason for the baby's wings, one thing was certain: this child was destined for something extraordinary. And Dr. Cross, for the first time in his career, found himself believing in miracles. Word spread like wildfire throughout St. Gabriel's Hospital. Staff from various departments whispered in hushed tones about the miraculous birth in room 302. Some dismissed the tale as an exaggeration, while others hurried to catch a glimpse of the child everyone was talking about. Dr. Adrian Cross, however, remained focused on protecting the privacy of Emily, Miguel, and their baby. He had requested security to block unauthorized visitors from entering the maternity ward. The hospital's PR team had also been notified, though Dr. Cross explicitly instructed them to refrain from publicizing the story. "This family needs peace," he explained. "They've just experienced something extraordinary, and the last thing they need is media chaos." Inside room 302, Emily sat up in bed, her baby nestled in her arms. The child's tiny wings were now folded neatly against his back, their soft feathers glinting faintly under the room's dim lights. Miguel sat beside her, his eyes fixed on their son, still in awe of what he had witnessed. "Have you thought of a name yet?" asked Nurse Clara, who had entered quietly to check on Emily and the baby. Emily exchanged a glance with Miguel before smiling. "Gabriel," she said softly. "After the angel who appeared in my dreams." Nurse Clara's eyes glistened with emotion. "That's a beautiful name," she said, gently adjusting the blanket around baby Gabriel. "He truly is an angel." Miguel chuckled nervously. "We just hope the world sees him that way." Emily's smile faltered slightly. "Do you think people will treat him differently?" she asked, her voice laced with concern. "I mean, he's special. But what if people don't understand?" Miguel took her hand in his. "It doesn't matter what the world thinks. We'll protect him, no matter what." Their tender moment was interrupted by a knock on the door. Dr. Cross entered, his expression a mix of professionalism and warmth. "How are you feeling, Emily?" he asked. "Better," she replied. "Just overwhelmed." Dr. Cross nodded. "That's understandable. What happened tonight is unlike anything I've ever seen. But I want to assure you both that Gabriel is healthy. His vitals are perfect, and there's no indication of any health concerns." "Thank you, doctor," Miguel said earnestly. "But what about his wings? Have you ever encountered anything like this?" Dr. Cross shook his head. "Never. It's not something we can explain medically, not yet, at least. I've contacted a geneticist who specializes in rare anomalies. She's discreet and highly respected. If you're comfortable, I'd like her to examine Gabriel." Emily hesitated. Will she treat him like a lab specimen? Absolutely not, Dr. Cross assured her. I trust her implicitly. Her focus will be on understanding, not exploiting. After a moment's thought, Emily nodded. All right, but only if she's careful. She will be, Dr. Cross promised. In the meantime, I suggest you rest. The coming days might be overwhelming, and you'll need your strength. As Dr. Cross left the room, he couldn't shake the feeling that Gabriel's birth was more than a medical anomaly. There was an unexplainable energy surrounding the child, a sense of purpose that transcended logic. The next morning, the hospital was abuzz with activity. Despite the efforts to maintain privacy, word of Gabriel's wings had leaked beyond the hospital walls. A few journalists had already gathered outside, eager to uncover the story. Dr. Cross convened an emergency meeting with the hospital's administration to address the situation. We need to act swiftly, he said firmly. This family deserves peace. I recommend issuing a brief statement confirming the birth of a healthy baby boy but omitting any mention of his wings. The hospital's director, a pragmatic woman named Dr. Evelyn Grant, nodded in agreement. I'll handle the press, she said. But we can't control social media. If anyone here has taken photos or shared information, the story will spread like wildfire. Dr. Cross sighed. Then we need to ensure Emily and Miguel are prepared for what's to come. This will change their lives. Meanwhile, in room 302, Emily and Miguel were coming to terms with their new reality. Gabriel slept peacefully in his crib, his wings tucked beneath the blanket. Emily reached out to stroke his tiny hand, marveling at how serene he looked. He's perfect, she murmured. Wings or no wings? Miguel sat beside her, his expression thoughtful. Do you think the dreams meant something? The angels, they told you he'd be special? Emily nodded. I think they were preparing me. But I didn't fully understand until now. Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Dr. Sophia Bennett, the geneticist Dr. Cross had mentioned. A petite woman with sharp features and kind eyes, Dr. Bennett exuded an air of quiet confidence. Mr. and Mrs. Rivera, it's a pleasure to meet you, she said, shaking their hands. Dr. Cross has briefed me on your son's unique features. I'd like to conduct a non-invasive examination, if that's all right. Emily glanced at Miguel, who nodded. She said. But please be gentle. Dr. Bennett smiled reassuringly. Of course, my priority is Gabriel's well-being. As she began her examination, Dr. Bennett couldn't hide her amazement. The wings were fully formed, with intricate bone structures and delicate feathers. This is extraordinary, she murmured. I've never seen anything like it. Do you think it's genetic? Miguel asked. It's possible, Dr. Bennett replied. But without more information, it's difficult to say. What I can tell you is that Gabriel's wings are not causing him any harm. There's much a part of him as his arms and legs. Her words brought some comfort to Emily and Miguel, but they couldn't ignore the larger question looming over them. What would the world think of their son? As the day progressed, the hospital became a fortress of sorts, with security stationed at every entrance. Emily and Miguel were grateful for the protection, but they knew it was only a temporary solution. Once they left the hospital, their lives would never be the same. In the quiet moments, Emily found herself gazing at Gabriel, her heart swelling with a mix of love and apprehension. She couldn't help but wonder what his future held. Would he be celebrated as a miracle or scrutinized as an oddity? Would the world see him for who he was, a beautiful, innocent child, or would they focus solely on his wings? Miguel, ever the optimist, tried to ease her worries. We'll take it one day at a time, he said, wrapping an arm around her. No matter what happens, we'll face it together. Emily smiled through her tears. You're right. Gabriel is a gift, and we'll protect him with everything we have. As night fell, the family drifted into an uneasy sleep, unaware that their journey was only just beginning. Gabriel, cradled in his mother's arms, stirred slightly, his wings fluttering in response to some unseen force. It was as if he, too, was preparing for the extraordinary life that lay ahead. The morning light crept into room 302, bathing Emily, Miguel, and Gabriel in a soft glow. The hospital was quieter than it had been the previous day, thanks to heightened security and the staff's effort to shield the family from unwanted attention. Still, a palpable tension hung in the air, as if the world outside was holding its breath, waiting for more information about the baby with wings. Emily woke to the sound of Gabriel's gentle coos. She smiled, brushing her hand over his soft hair and marveling at the tiny feathers peeking out from beneath his blanket. "Good morning, my angel," she whispered, her heart swelling with love. Miguel stirred beside her, sitting up groggily. "How's our little miracle?" he asked, leaning over to kiss Gabriel's forehead. "Perfect," Emily replied, though her smile faltered slightly. "I just wish we could stay in this bubble forever." Miguel nodded, understanding her sentiment. Outside these walls, the world was waiting, curious, skeptical, and perhaps judgmental. But for now, they had each other, and that was enough. Their moment of peace was interrupted by a knock on the door. Dr. Cross entered, followed by Dr. Bennett and Dr. Grant. The trio looked serious but not unkind. "Good morning, Rivera family," Dr. Cross began. "We wanted to update you on a few things." Dr. Grant stepped forward. "The press is still outside the hospital," she said. "We've done our best to keep them at bay, but rumors are spreading fast. Social media is already ablaze with speculation." Emily's eyes widened in alarm. "Social media? We haven't said anything to anyone." Dr. Bennett interjected gently. "It's likely someone from the hospital staff leaked the story. We're investigating, but unfortunately, we can't undo the damage." Miguel clenched his fists, his protective instincts flaring. "So now the whole world knows about our son? What if they come after him? What if—" Dr. Cross placed a reassuring hand on Miguel's shoulder. "Take a deep breath," he said. "We're doing everything we can to protect your family. But we also need to prepare you for what comes next." Dr. Bennett pulled out a small folder. "I've compiled some initial findings based on my examination of Gabriel," she said. "While we don't have all the answers, there's no indication that his wings are a medical concern. They seem to be a natural extension of his anatomy, much like an arm or a leg." Emily looked at her in awe. "But why? Why does he have wings? Is it a mutation? A miracle?" Dr. Bennett hesitated, choosing her words carefully. "It's too early to say for certain. Scientifically, this could be a genetic anomaly, a rare mutation we've never encountered before. But miracles often defy explanation. What matters is that Gabriel is healthy, and he's surrounded by parents who love him." Dr. Grant spoke up again. "We'll support you in any way we can. But once you leave the hospital, you'll need to decide how to handle the public's reaction. Do you want to share Gabriel's story openly, or keep it private?" Emily and Miguel exchanged a long, thoughtful glance. "We need time to think about that," Emily said finally. "This isn't just our story, it's Gabriel's." The doctors nodded in understanding. "Take all the time you need," Dr. Cross said. "We'll respect your decision, whatever it may be." As the medical team left the room, Emily and Miguel sat in silence, grappling with the enormity of their situation. The weight of the world seemed to press down on them, yet they found solace in Gabriel's peaceful presence. His innocence reminded them of what truly mattered. Later that day, the family received an unexpected visitor. Father Michael, the priest from their local church, had heard about Gabriel's birth and insisted on offering his blessings. Despite their initial hesitation, Emily and Miguel welcomed him into their room. "God works in mysterious ways," Father Michael said, his eyes twinkling with kindness. "Your son is a testament to his boundless creativity and love." Emily held Gabriel close, her voice trembling. "Do you think people will see him as a gift, Father? Or will they see him as something to fear?" Father Michael placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Fear often comes from ignorance," he said. "But love and faith have the power to overcome even the greatest doubts. Gabriel is a symbol of hope, Emily. Never forget that." His words brought a sense of calm to the room, and for the first time, Emily felt a flicker of confidence. Perhaps Gabriel's wings were not a burden but a blessing, a chance to inspire others and remind the world of life's mysteries. As the day turned into evening, Emily and Miguel found themselves preparing for their eventual departure from the hospital. Dr. Cross had arranged for a discreet exit, and Miguel had contacted a trusted friend to help shield their family from the prying eyes of the media. But as they packed their belongings and held Gabriel close, a new question arose: how would they navigate the challenges ahead? The road would be filled with both wonder and adversity, but one thing was certain: they would face it together. As they settled in for the night, Gabriel stirred in his crib, his tiny wings unfurling slightly. Emily reached out to stroke his back, marveling at the softness of his feathers. "You're going to change the world, my angel," she whispered. "I don't know how yet, but I can feel it. You were born for something extraordinary." Miguel wrapped an arm around her, his voice steady and full of love. "And we'll be with him every step of the way." Outside the hospital, the world buzzed with anticipation. But inside room 302, a family was finding its strength. One moment, one miracle, one winged baby at a time. The next morning, the sun poured through the hospital room's windows, casting a warm glow on the sleeping family. Gabriel stirred in his crib, his tiny wings stretching as if testing the light. Emily awoke to the soft cooing sounds of her baby, smiling as she reached out to lift him into her arms. Miguel sat up moments later, rubbing his eyes before grinning at the sight of his wife and son. "Morning, my angel," Emily whispered to Gabriel, her voice filled with a mix of awe and love. Miguel leaned over, placing a gentle kiss on both their foreheads. The tranquility of the moment was interrupted by the soft knock on their door. Nurse Clara entered, carrying a fresh set of linens and a knowing smile. "Good morning, Rivera family. How's our little miracle doing today?" Emily chuckled lightly. "He's perfect as always. I don't think we'll ever get used to how extraordinary he is." Clara nodded, her voice gentle. "I don't think anyone could. The world is already buzzing about him, but remember, you control the narrative." Emily and Miguel exchanged a glance. The thought of stepping outside into the media frenzy was daunting, but they knew the time was nearing. Before Clara left, she added, "Dr. Cross will be here soon to discuss your discharge plan. Take your time, and let us know if you need anything." As the door clicked shut, Miguel sighed heavily. "Are we really ready for this, Emily? For the world to see him?" Emily held Gabriel close, her expression thoughtful. "We may not feel ready, but Gabriel doesn't have a choice. We need to be strong for him." By mid-morning, Dr. Cross arrived with Dr. Bennett in tow, both of them carrying an air of professionalism mixed with genuine care. "Good morning," Dr. Cross began. "We've finalized a plan for your departure. It won't be easy, but we've arranged for a private exit through the service corridors. A car will be waiting to take you to a secure location." Miguel nodded, appreciating the thoroughness of their preparation. "And what about the press? How do we handle their questions if they follow us?" Dr. Bennett stepped forward, her tone reassuring. "You don't owe anyone an explanation. Gabriel's health and safety come first. If you choose to share his story, do it on your terms." The couple felt a wave of gratitude for the hospital staff's unwavering support. Emily glanced at Gabriel, who was now asleep in her arms, and whispered, "We'll figure it out. Together." As the time for their discharge approached, Father Michael returned to offer a final blessing. This time, he brought a small group of parishioners who had heard about Gabriel and wanted to show their support. The small gathering filled the room with warmth and solidarity. One elderly woman, her hands weathered with age, approached Emily and Miguel with tears in her eyes. "Your son is a beacon of hope," she said softly. "In a world so often divided, Gabriel reminds us of the beauty of the unknown." Her words resonated deeply with the couple, strengthening their resolve to face whatever lay ahead. When the time came to leave, the hospital's staff formed a protective barrier around the family, guiding them through the back corridors and into the waiting car. Outside, the press clamored for a glimpse of the winged baby, cameras flashing and reporters shouting questions. But the family remained unseen, shielded by the careful planning of their allies. As the car pulled away, Emily and Miguel finally exhaled, the tension of the past days easing slightly. Gabriel stirred in his car seat, his tiny wings twitching as if sensing the shift in his surroundings. "Where do we go from here?" Miguel asked, his voice steady but uncertain. Emily reached for his hand, her grip firm. "We take it one step at a time. Gabriel's wings may draw attention, but they're also a gift. will find a way to protect him and show the world his light. The journey ahead was uncharted, filled with challenges they couldn't yet foresee. But as the car sped away from the hospital and toward a new chapter, Emily and Miguel felt a growing sense of purpose. Gabriel wasn't just their son, he was a symbol of hope, a reminder that miracles could still happen. In the back seat, Gabriel opened his eyes and cooed softly, his gaze locking with Emily's. She smiled, tears welling up in her eyes. "You're going to change the world, my angel," she whispered. Miguel added with a grin, "And we'll be right by your side, every step of the way." A few days after their escape from the hospital, Emily, Miguel, and Gabriel settled into a secluded home provided by a close family friend. Nestled in a quiet town far from the media frenzy, the house became a safe haven where they could finally breathe and focus on their little family. Emily spent her days marveling at Gabriel, documenting every smile, coo, and flutter of his wings. Miguel took on the role of protector, ensuring that their location remained confidential. But as much as they tried to keep the outside world at bay, the world had not forgotten about them. One afternoon, as Emily rocked Gabriel to sleep, the faint hum of a news report caught her attention. Miguel had left the television on, and the sight of their story splashed across the screen made her heart sink. Reporters speculated wildly about Gabriel, debating everything from his wings to what it meant for science and faith. Miguel walked in, noticing Emily's expression. "They're not going to stop, are they?" she asked, her voice tinged with worry. Miguel sat beside her, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. "No, they won't. But that doesn't mean we let them dictate how we live. We're not hiding forever." Emily nodded, though uncertainty lingered in her eyes. "But how do we face them without putting Gabriel at risk?" The answer came sooner than they expected. That evening, Father Michael called, his voice filled with excitement. "Emily, Miguel, I've been contacted by an international faith organization. They want to meet Gabriel, not as a spectacle, but to discuss how his story could inspire unity." Emily hesitated. "What if they exploit him, Father? What if this turns into a circus?" Father Michael's tone softened. "I understand your fear, but they seem genuine. And perhaps this is an opportunity to share Gabriel's light in a way that brings people together." After much deliberation, Emily and Miguel agreed to meet with the representatives. The meeting was arranged at a nearby cathedral, chosen for its security and sanctity. On the appointed day, they dressed Gabriel in a simple white onesie, his tiny wings peeking out like a celestial secret. The cathedral was serene, its stained glass windows casting colorful patterns on the stone floors. Inside, a small group of representatives awaited them, their expressions a mix of curiosity and reverence. One of them, a kind-faced woman named Sister Agnes, stepped forward. "Thank you for trusting us," she began. "We know this must be overwhelming, but Gabriel's presence is a reminder of the divine in a world that often forgets it." Emily held Gabriel close, her voice steady. "We're not here to make him a symbol or a spectacle. He's just our son." Sister Agnes nodded. "And that's precisely why we want to help. His story has already reached millions. If we approach this with care, it can become a message of hope rather than division." The meeting lasted hours, filled with discussions about faith, science, and the responsibility of sharing Gabriel's story. By the end, Emily and Miguel felt a cautious sense of hope. For the first time, they saw a path forward that didn't feel exploitative. As they returned home, the couple talked late into the night. They knew the road ahead would be challenging, but they also recognized the potential for Gabriel's story to bridge gaps in a divided world. The next morning, Emily sat by the window, holding Gabriel as the first rays of sunlight filtered through. His wings glimmered faintly in the light, a reminder of the extraordinary gift he carried. She kissed his forehead and whispered, "You're going to make the world a better place, little one." Miguel joined them, his hand resting on Emily's shoulder. "And we'll make sure you have everything you need to do it," he said, his voice filled with determination. The family had found their purpose, to protect Gabriel while guiding the world to see him not as an anomaly, but as a beacon of love and unity. And as they faced the days ahead, they knew that together, they could overcome anything. Months passed, and Gabriel's story slowly evolved from a sensational headline to a symbol of hope. Under the guidance of Father Michael and Sister Agnes, Emily and Miguel carefully navigated the delicate balance between protecting their son's privacy and allowing his story to inspire change. The couple began to share carefully crafted updates about Gabriel's life. They released photographs and videos that showcased his innocence and charm but avoided turning him into a public spectacle. Each post carried a heartfelt message of unity, love, and acceptance, urging people to look beyond differences and embrace the divine spark in every individual. The response was overwhelmingly positive. Messages of support poured in from across the globe, letters from families, children's drawings of Gabriel with his tiny wings, and testimonials from people who felt his story had reignited their faith or given them hope during dark times. One day, as Emily read through the latest batch of letters, one caught her eye. It was from a scientist, Dr. Elena Navarro, who specialized in genetics and evolutionary biology. Her letter was thoughtful and respectful, offering to collaborate on research that could deepen understanding of Gabriel's unique condition without compromising his dignity. Emily showed the letter to Miguel, who read it carefully. "She seems genuine," he said. "If we're ever going to understand Gabriel's wings, this might be a step forward." Father Michael, who had become a trusted advisor to the family, agreed. "Knowledge doesn't have to conflict with faith," he said. "If approached with care, this could help dispel fear and misinformation." After much discussion, Emily and Miguel decided to meet Dr. Navarro. They traveled to her modest laboratory, where she greeted them warmly. Dr. Navarro's demeanor was calm and reassuring as she explained her approach. "My goal isn't to dissect Gabriel's uniqueness," she said. "It's to celebrate it, to understand it in a way that honors who he is." The initial tests were non-invasive, focusing on imaging and observation. Gabriel cooed happily as Dr. Navarro marveled at the intricate structure of his wings. "They're perfectly formed," she whispered, her voice filled with awe. "It's as if they were designed by something greater than we can comprehend." The findings, shared in a peer-reviewed paper, were groundbreaking. Dr. Navarro highlighted Gabriel's wings as an extraordinary anomaly, one that challenged existing knowledge but also invited deeper questions about life and creation. The scientific community responded with a mix of skepticism and curiosity, but most importantly, with respect. As Gabriel's story continued to unfold, Emily and Miguel noticed a subtle but profound shift in the world around them. Communities began organizing events to celebrate unity, inspired by Gabriel's story. Interfaith dialogues flourished, with leaders from different traditions coming together to discuss shared values. One day, as they walked through the park with Gabriel, Emily noticed something remarkable. A group of children, each wearing makeshift wings crafted from cardboard and fabric, ran and laughed together. Their parents, from diverse backgrounds, stood nearby, chatting amicably. Tears welled in Emily's eyes as she watched the scene. Miguel squeezed her hand. "This is what it's all about," he said. "Gabriel is bringing people together in ways we never imagined." In the years that followed, Gabriel continued to grow, his wings becoming a natural part of his life. Emily and Miguel ensured he had a childhood filled with love, laughter, and the freedom to explore the world at his own pace. And as Gabriel's light touched more lives, his family remained steadfast in their mission to protect and nurture him while sharing his story in a way that inspired hope and unity. For in a world often divided by differences, Gabriel's wings had become a symbol of the beauty found in embracing the extraordinary. As Gabriel grew older, his wings continued to flourish, becoming not just a physical part of him but a profound representation of the unity his life symbolized. The small town where his story began had transformed into a place of pilgrimage, drawing visitors from every corner of the world. People came not out of curiosity but with reverence, seeking to witness the miracle child whose existence seemed to bridge science, faith, and humanity. Emily and Miguel, ever mindful of protecting their son's well-being, worked closely with Father Michael and Sister Agnes to manage the influx of visitors. A dedicated area near the church was set up to accommodate gatherings, where stories of love and kindness inspired by Gabriel could be shared. One afternoon, during a quiet moment at home, Gabriel, now a curious and articulate boy of 6, approached his parents with a question. "Why do people come to see me?" he asked, his voice tinged with both innocence and curiosity. Emily knelt beside him, brushing a stray curl from his forehead. "They come because you remind them of something very important," she said gently. "You remind them that love and kindness can bring people together, no matter how different they are." Gabriel pondered this for a moment, then smiled. "Then I want to make sure they feel happy when they leave," he said, his wings fluttering slightly as if emphasizing his resolve. His parents exchanged a look, their hearts swelling with pride. Gabriel's innate kindness and empathy were his greatest gifts, far surpassing the physical uniqueness that had drawn the world's attention. Around this time, Dr. Elena Navarro reached out with a new proposal. Inspired by Gabriel's story, she wanted to create a foundation dedicated to exploring the intersections of science, faith, and humanity. "This isn't just about understanding Gabriel's wings," she explained during a meeting with the family. "It's about fostering a world where differences are celebrated and where the mysteries of life are approached with both curiosity and humility." Emily and Miguel were immediately on board. The foundation, named Wings of Unity, was launched with a mission to support families with unique challenges, fund scientific research with ethical integrity, and promote interfaith dialogue. Gabriel, though too young to fully understand the impact, was excited by the idea of helping other children. The foundation's launch event was held in the town square, where Gabriel had taken his first steps. The event brought together people from all walks of life: scientists, religious leaders, activists, and everyday individuals whose lives had been touched by Gabriel's story. Father Michael opened the event with a simple but powerful message. "Gabriel's wings remind us of the beauty in the unknown and the strength we find in unity. Let us carry this spirit forward, creating a world where love and acceptance soar higher than any differences." The crowd erupted into applause as Gabriel, dressed in a little suit tailored to accommodate his wings, took the stage with his parents. Clutching the microphone with both hands, he shyly said, "Thank you for being kind to me and my family. Let's all be kind to each other." His words, though simple, resonated deeply. Tears flowed freely, and the applause seemed to echo across the town, a resounding affirmation of the journey they were all a part of. In the years that followed, the Wings of Unity Foundation grew into a global movement. Schools implemented programs inspired by its principles, hospitals adopted practices to support families with rare conditions, and communities found new ways to bridge divides. Gabriel's story had sparked a ripple effect of compassion and understanding. As for Gabriel, he grew into a young man who embodied the very values his life had come to represent. His wings, once a source of wonder and speculation, became a natural part of who he was, a symbol not just of his uniqueness but of the extraordinary potential for humanity to embrace the extraordinary. And so, Gabriel's light continued to shine, illuminating a path toward a world where love, unity, and acceptance reigned supreme. As Gabriel entered his teenage years, his wings had grown even more magnificent, their feathers shimmering with an otherworldly glow. By now, they had become a defining part of his identity, no longer a subject of mystery but a symbol of hope. Gabriel had embraced the attention he received, but his parents ensured he remained grounded, instilling in him the humility and kindness that had been at the core of his upbringing. One day, Gabriel approached his parents with an idea. "I want to visit other kids who feel different," he said earnestly. "I want to show them it's okay to be unique." Emily and Miguel exchanged a proud glance. They knew their son's heart was in the right place and supported his desire to make a difference. With the help of the Wings of Unity Foundation, Gabriel began a journey to visit schools, hospitals, and community centers around the world. Wherever he went, he shared his story, not as a miracle but as a boy who had found strength in his differences. At a hospital in South Africa, Gabriel met a young girl named Amara, who was born with a rare skin condition that made her feel isolated from her peers. When Gabriel walked into her room, her eyes widened in awe. "You're real," she whispered, reaching out to touch his wings. Gabriel knelt beside her. "I'm real, just like you," he said gently. "And you're amazing just the way you are." The two spent hours talking, and by the time Gabriel left, Amara's laughter could be heard echoing down the hospital halls. Stories like this became the hallmark of Gabriel's travels, each encounter leaving an indelible mark on both him and those he met. Meanwhile, back home, the Wings of Unity Foundation was thriving. Dr. Elena Navarro's vision had expanded, with the foundation funding groundbreaking research and launching community programs. A highlight was the annual Wings of Unity Summit, where people from all walks of life gathered to share ideas, celebrate progress, and renew their commitment to a more inclusive world. During one such summit, Gabriel took the stage to address the audience. Now a confident teenager, he spoke with a clarity that captivated everyone present. "When I was born, people saw my wings and thought I was different," he began. "But over time, I've learned that being different is what makes us all the same. We all have something special inside us, something that can bring people together." The room erupted into applause, and as Gabriel spread his wings, the moment felt almost magical. He had become a beacon of hope, not because of his wings but because of the love and compassion he shared with the world. One evening, after returning home from one of his trips, Gabriel sat with his parents under the starlit sky. "Do you think my wings have a purpose?" he asked, gazing at the stars. Emily wrapped an arm around him. "I think your wings are part of a bigger story, one that's still being written," she said. "But more than your wings, it's your heart that makes the real difference." Miguel nodded in agreement. "You've shown the world that what matters most isn't how we look but how we treat each other." Gabriel smiled, feeling a deep sense of peace. He didn't have all the answers, but he knew he was exactly where he was meant to be, surrounded by love, driven by purpose, and ready to keep soaring toward a future where unity and kindness could truly take flight.